This video, we're going to talk about the big problems happening in San Francisco. And no, it's not just about the homelessness, the crime, and the crazy amounts of shoplifting, but it really boils down to just land and property values. Because the backbone of any city is going to be their property transactions, which San Francisco makes over $500 million every year. But in the most recent 12 months, San Francisco made a little over $180 million in property transaction fees. So $180 million versus over $500 million is a pretty massive drop in revenue. This is why the city is cutting like $200 million of budget cuts, including like $30 million from the police department and $30 million from the health department. These are some huge things. Not to mention tourism is down, which is causing an Airbnb exodus. So here you go. Why the ultra rich are buying way fewer mansions in San Francisco. Everyone kind of knows it, right? All the rich people who's willing to spend like $3 to $4 million for a San Francisco mansion will much rather buy it somewhere else. If you have money for a $3 to $4 million property, buy it in Vegas, right? Buy it somewhere in Texas, somewhere in Florida. There's so many better American cities where it could splash the cash. And a lot of these big tech CEOs know that. This is why Vegas right now has a lot of tech companies, despite being famous and notorious for gambling. Miami is known for beaches and hospitality, not really known for tech or finance. But Miami is having some of the biggest tech companies and finance companies joining in. The super rich have pretty much stepped on the brakes, with many properties like this mansion in San Francisco, one of the most expensive ones, listed for $23.5 million before eventually selling for $18.5 million. That's a massive price cut for one of the most luxurious properties out there. Check this out. $16.5 million sold for $13 million. $32 sold for $20. These are all big price cuts, and it's not normal. If you go to other cities, like you go to Singapore, right, even Manhattan, Miami, yes, there's price cuts for ultra luxury units, but not price cuts in like the double-digit percentage ranges, especially not like 20, 30, 35% off, which is kind of like what we're seeing here. And also, don't forget, if you guys think the San Francisco property market is busted, just wait till you get the Airbnb situation coming in. San Francisco is the spearhead of Airbnb. This is where Airbnb was born, from a dude and a mattress in another room. So Airbnb is here, and Airbnb bookings is everywhere in San Francisco. But guess what? Airbnb bookings in San Francisco is pretty terrible. If you just go to Airbnb San Francisco, you kind of see the amount of units having price reductions. Look at this one, 57 to 50. You also have this one, 183 to 143. If you zoom a little bit closer, many of these Airbnb units aren't renting out at all. Many are having huge price cuts. And for a city of this caliber, I say San Francisco is basically like New York City, but on the West Coast. A lot of tech companies, a lot of rich people, a lot of tourism. Well, I guess it used to have all that. And you do see the rooms here are so much cheaper than other cities in the US, despite that San Francisco is the US's tech capital. I could pretty much say it's like North America's tech capital. So now you have the Airbnb exodus. A lot of these units are now entering Zillow, and it's not a good sight to see because a lot of these units are going to be flooding the market, and we have a bunch of these homes, these luxury homes, nobody wants them. So if you check this out, what people are saying is at first, Airbnb was very profitable. Like out of 30 nights, they could probably rent out like 28 nights. This person said last year had 21 bookings in July and August. Not really that bad. But still though, it's very questionable how profitable that is. You're basically only renting out just a few days a week. Still, that's better than nothing. But this Airbnb host says that this year she's only had 3 and 0 days for those months. So bookings are down about 85% compared to last year. And last year compared to the year before that is also pretty low. Because I don't really looked into Airbnb before the pandemic for San Francisco. And seriously, out of 30 nights, people were renting out like almost the whole 30 nights in a row. Like per month, they were generating thousands of dollars of income. It's way more profitable than something like a long-term rental. And people were making like $50,000, $75,000 per property in San Francisco from short-term rentals because they're maxing it out. Like per year, they're probably renting over 300 nights, which is insane. Now, people are only doing like 1 to 2 nights per month. Yes, it's also due to the oversupply Airbnbs, but more importantly, tourism is down. The amount of bookings for restaurants in the city is down 44% according to OpenTable. You can search it up. Seattle is the second worst at 26% decline in restaurant bookings. Hotels are pretty bad as well, right? Hotels have a decreased revenue of 33 to 40%, which is the reason why you have big hotels like Park Hotels and Resorts closing down. And of course, the APEC event. We can't forget this event. This is one of the biggest events San Francisco will probably ever get. And at first, people thought, okay, they literally cleaned up the streets overnight. It was actually somewhat safe. But the moment when the APEC event was over and all the Asian country leaders leave and all the CEOs leave, the streets are back to the way it was. Even have restaurant owners saying that the streets are dirty again with human poop. That's crazy. And people ask why property prices are going down, because the city just really isn't taking care of itself. Look at this. You got KBS Realty Fund. They are surrendering the San Francisco Waterfront Tower, home to WeWork and Google, back to the lender. Now, this was just a month ago, but it's actually a real thing now. This is by far one of the most luxurious property areas of San Francisco. This is also next to the famous 1 Stewart Lane condo building, which 1 bedrooms sell for almost $3 million. And I don't think anyone's buying that, by the way. Look at this tower selling for 50% off. This is the problem here. Real estate is basically worthless. And what's scary about this is the buyer spent pretty much $120 million back in the early 2000s to cop this building, and now they sell it for $60 million. So you're telling me after 20 years of holding on to the building, you still sell for a 50% loss? And I'm sure $1 million back in 2000 was worth so much more than $1 million now. $1 million now with all that inflation isn't worth as much. You know, back in the old days, $1 million to get you like a whole row of houses. Now you might be lucky to get like a couple bedrooms. So this is what's happening. We're seeing big, pricey buildings in some of the best districts of San Francisco selling for pennies on the dollar. I mean, not even Black Friday deals are this good. Even Apple AirPods only have a 25% off discount. This is a 50% discount. Absolutely crazy. If you look at other buildings, it's more than 50% off. Some buildings are selling for 80% off, especially in the office sector. So this is why people are a little bit, scared about the situation. And this is why a lot of offices are vacant. And it's mostly due to the street conditions, right? I mean, San Francisco, it's a pretty good place. Like, the location is honestly fantastic. You're surrounded left, right, and the top with water. It's a peninsula, right? Great views, great weather. A lot of tech energy. But the way they govern the city just isn't the greatest, right? Way too lenient. Crime is everywhere. Small business owners can't take it. Even the big businesses like Target, Starbucks, and Whole Foods are closing down. And that says something. Hopefully they change, but let's see what happens next. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment below. Real estate is truly going down for the Golden State.